let's get to the next step in fixing the Giants. You know what you can't fix a problem if you don't do?
Paying the bills.
Got to establish the problem. They'll pay the bills later. Got to establish the problem. So, and we're talking just the roster right now. Just the roster. So, I think the obvious issue is obviously going to be the quarterback. Let's be honest here. We're starting the show talking about the switch over from Jones to DeVito. DeVito's not the full-time answer. So, obviously, we fully expect that Jones is going to get cut. Drew Lock is going to be a free agent. Tommy DeVito is going to be a free agent. So, we got to establish the problem, establish a plan there. So, I mean, to me, we got to sign a veteran quarterback. And we have to draft a quarterback that can be our quarterback in the future. It sounds much more simple than it's going to be, don't get me wrong. But I think that's the ideal plan.
Yeah.
Kind of a Kurt Warner-Eli Manning kind of thing. But that was the perfect example.
100%.
That's perfect. Let Warner play. He started the year. Eli didn't get forced out there. You know, unfortunately, I still think, if those of y'all remember, old enough to remember 20 years ago when Eli was first starting out, the Giants were actually playing better than expected. And they put Eli in mostly because they didn't want to have a quarterback battle of people. Some people actually started to like Warner enough they wanted him to be around long term. But, you know, you bring a guy in for a little while. We'll talk about some names later on. But you bring a guy in and you let him start. And you let him, you know, you let the new guy learn. And you let him be a rookie and coach him up and put him in when he's ready, when the situation is right. So
100%. Winston looking at you. So we will be like, do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, do that.
We will pay you $5 million and 5 pounds of snow crabs. Next issue we got there, we got established as an issue is outside corner. You know, we talked about the issues before. Deonte Banks obviously been a very disappointing player this year, and he's been to CB1. CB1 has been the issue, but CB2 has also been an issue. Let's be honest, guys. We have multiple people at the position. One of the guys that played the position, started the position at the beginning of the year, isn't on the team anymore. We cut him. You know, that's an issue. That's an issue. My mic working, by the way, because Dwayne said my mic is not working.
I've heard you the whole time, so
okay.
News to me.
If anybody else is in here, let me know. But you know, that's an issue.
Be a very one-sided podcast if no one else could hear you but me.
I do think that Banks should move to CB2. And I think that you know, there should be an insurance plan also though in place for him. You know, I think that's the big thing is that put Banks at number 2 where I think he deserves to be. And have a backup plan in case you have to bench Banks because of the issues like you had this year. You know, he's a first-round pick. You don't want to necessarily move on from him after 2 years. You know, it's hard for us to give a full-on idea, though, without knowing what happened exactly while we benched him. We just don't know. You know, fully what happened there. Give me 1 second here because he's saying it's not coming out of the mic correctly.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it comes to Banks, like you said,
can you hear me now?
No. Oh, you went way off the grid there. Turn up your volume.
Turn down for what?
Turn down for what? What?
I guess you can hear me now.
Yeah. Just turn up your volume on the mic.
It's set where it was usually.
All right. Sounds way better, by the way.
There we go.
All right. But yeah, you're talking about Banks. Yeah, you kind of have to put him out there as CB2. But with someone that's a veteran that could coach this guy up a little bit and show him how to be number 1 and let them kind of fight for that number 1 spot because you don't want to discourage him. You brought him there to be the number 1, but he's also faced some really tough, you know, RB1s. I'm sorry, RB1s. Wide receivers once.
Why is he facing the running backs?
That's crazy. But your wide receivers out there, like, I mean, let's talk about, like, I mean, Scary Terry might have been one of his easier matchups this year. When you talk about playing JJ week 1, like,
But I don't think the issue is who he's facing. The issue is the energy he's playing with, the attitude issues it seems like he had in the sidelines.
So like I get what you're saying, but like also, all right, so the toughest part of the defense is covering like these top flight receivers. You're putting this rookie out there to cover these top flight guys, top 10 guys in the league. Which he probably 8 of the top 10 wide receivers thus far this year he's faced. We'll say give him some credit, 6, right? That's pretty tough over 10 weeks. It's a high percentage. So you're going out there, you're constantly running against the best in the league and a very poor cornerback room. Your defense is doing great. Your offense can't keep you off the field. Like, hopefully, you would hope your offense keeps the defense off the field. That's not happening. So you're constantly go back out there, and you feel like, what are you putting this energy out for? So, like, I get some of that, but, like, also at the same time, you're a competitor. You fight to the end. That's exactly what you do. But
yeah, like I said, I just think that you give him a shot. You don't give up on him.
100%. I agree with that. Like, it's
but you also can't plan for him. Does that make sense either?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to bring in someone else that fights for that number 1 spot. Yeah, and it's fine. Well, even if they go back and forth, and if you bring a veteran guy that help coach him up.
I wouldn't even have a guy to fight with the CB1 position. I would point blank put somebody that we know can be CB1. Like, honestly, those guys don't grow on trees. But I would point blank just bring somebody we think can be CB1 and say, you know what, Banks, you got to earn this back. We handed it to you last year. That was a mistake. You got to earn it back.
Yeah. So you're saying bring back Eli Apple.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about the defensive line here, because obviously, we got Dexter Lawrence, absolute stud, best nose tackle in the NFL. Long be one of the best defensive players overall in the NFL there, point blank. But otherwise, this group really has not performed. Rob and I were sounding the alarm for this group before the season started. We thought that people were mentioning the secondary nonstop, but they didn't want to talk about this group for some reason. Guys, this group has been bad. Point blank.
It's because you had the number
1. we need run stoppers, especially, but at least players that can go ahead and take on blocks and free up the linebackers. Like, it's been a very disappointing group as a whole, guys. It's when you bring a guy in mid-season that also like, ooh, he looks good, or undrafted rookie free agent, like, ooh, like, a lot of this is because of how bad this group is.
Yeah,
it doesn't take much to stand out amongst this group of DJ Davidsons and all those kind of guys. Like, it's not a good group. We gotta improve it, because teams are running all over the place on us. We have nothing to stop them. It's got to get figured out. Then we got wide receiver, which is a group that could develop into a need, depending on what happens with Darius Slayton. We'll talk about free agency in a little bit there, but he's a free agent. Jalen Hyatt hasn't performed to expectations. You could have a gap there very easily.
Yeah. You're talking about Slayton is the perfect Robin to any Batman out there.
Oh, yeah. Offensive line. You got right guard Greg Roten is going to be a free agent. And this position, quite frankly, guys, is always a position need. You're always having to add to that. Otherwise, you start slipping down a performance like we used to for all these years. Tight end. Daniel Bellinger has not bounced back from his sophomore slump this year. Theo Johnson has been improving this season, but what if he slumps in year 2 like Bellinger did? Chris Manhurst has been the primary blocking tight end for us. He's a free agent. This is a potential need. Edge. If we don't re-sign Azeez Ojulari, depth is a major issue. Even with him, it's a need, because he's the only decent backup we got.
Yeah, was a not such a great starter for us, but fantastic, depth piece.
Yeah. So, like I said, guys, that's the needs. As I see him on the roster there, I think that this is, again, not a bad team. I really think this is an underrated team. It's just we've had really bad quarterback play, but there's issues, and we got to establish those issues before you fix them, so you know what you want to attack bit by bit there. So,
if you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much. Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.